amount of time we were recruited at the beginning of 2020. Kevin said this: Grant is one of the hardest working guys I've ever met. I could tell when he first interviewed with us and his determination. When he calls his shot, he's going to do everything to make it happen. He's a great leader, genuine, determined, and gives everything he does his all. Our agency is leveled up because his expectations and what's possible here. He's a great business partner, a great father, and a great friend. Things are just starting for him and the generational legacy and impact he's building for him and his family. And just so you guys, I'm going to read off some accolades. We could literally take the entire call and just read off his accolades. He's only been here for 2 years. He started here in November of 2023. So Grant Gregory Rooney, his full name, born June 23rd, 1987, in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Let's go. He now resides in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin. I assume I kind of got it close, correct?
Very close.
Close enough. He lives with his beautiful wife, Trisha, and their three children, Quinn, who's 10 years old, Nora, who's 7, and Killian, who's 3. He loves glamping. He loves the Green Bay Packers and spending time with his family. Grant started with Family Heritage in November 2023, and in just over 2 years, his lifetime NAP in just 2 years is 1.1 million so far. His best week, he wrote over 28,660 of NAP. He has already attended GLU 101 and 201, and he's a 2024 and 2025 I Dare You earner. He's written 65 Eagles in 2 years, ladies and gentlemen. About to be 66 after this week. Grant has already qualified for the level three. He's qualified for level three Q3 incentive trip in 2024 and 2025, and many others. He was the governor of Wisconsin, which means he was the top agent in the entire state of Wisconsin in his first full year, 2024 and in 2025 for Family Heritage. He's in the Chairman's Club for Sales Professionals both years he's been here. And most recently, this is a huge accomplishment in just 2 years. He was just promoted to market director at the end of Q4. So, this quarter is his first quarter as a MD on the career track in just 2 years running. His favorite thing about working for Family Heritage, besides the people, is the fact that he can afford to take his whole family and a babysitter to the Cancun Q3 trips. Let's go. Both trips. Both years he's been here, he's going to take his whole family and babysitter to take care of the family. And also, he was able to go to the Ireland trip last year, which was, he said that was a close second favorite trip so far. So to know Grant, he's disciplined, he's very coachable, he's very dependable. Awesome. So with that, guys, we have Grant Rooney, one of the hottest prospects in the entire country. Just he is absolutely on fire. He does the job the right way. So we're going to hear from Grant. He's just going to share his story and just some things that's helped him take his business to the next level.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Can you hear me all right?
Oh yeah, yes sir.
Perfect. Yeah. So the beginning of my story was back in 2023. I had worked for a local gym that's a franchise that had gotten sold. And I had been with that company since it opened in 2016, so almost 8 years. And I had gotten promoted, started as like a trainer, then manager, then another level, then a regional manager. At the time I left, though, it's funny when you get promoted in a lot of careers, the pay doesn't change very much, but the responsibilities do. And I was covering 5 paid positions at the time I left, right? So, which basically meant my title just meant that I was a fill in for whoever didn't show up for work that day. And I was covering 5 different locations too. One of them was over an hour and a half away, closer to 2 hours. So at that time, my wife had to be to work at 4 a.m. So my morning consisted of getting my kids either to school or daycare, brush your hair, brush your teeth, let's get out the door kind of situation. Then driving, then since no one wanted to work, covering for people working 10-hour days, 11-hour days, then driving home. So we're putting in with drive time 13, 14-hour days. So my night was, if I was lucky, I was able to get home and tuck my kids into bed, maybe catch a dinner once in a while. And after about 3 months of that, I was at home one day and I was just, I don't know, I was watching a video or something like maybe a saying on my phone that said, in 20 years, the only people that are going to remember that you worked late and worked hard are your kids. And that was just kind of my light bulb moment that I need to make a change. So I updated my resume for the first time in 8 years. And guys, family heritage is the only job I applied for. And now I'm here. So just want to talk a little bit about my path from the beginning to now. I will give my AO some credit. Um, he does a pretty solid job of when I set the bar, he raises it. So I think this was probably Q2 of my first year. So Q2 of 2024. It was at an agency days or something like that. And based off of my trajectory, I'm like, I'm pretty sure um, I could sell 300,000 NAP my first year. He goes, I think you could do four. And so I'm like, okay, so that's what we set my goals, VPF and stuff to do. But then as the year progressed, I think that was the beginning of Q2. Yeah, right at the end of Q1. Um, as the year progressed, we get to like the mid-year meeting, we have a similar conversation. And he's like, well, because I was on the brink of hitting four and had half the year left to go. He's like, I think you could do five. And so then I did wrap up that year at 550. So my first year, I that's all I wanted, tunnel vision, focus on. I had been off, like asked if I wanted to get into leadership. But I guess my mindset at that time was like, I want to have, I don't know all the answers, but a lot of the answers to the challenges that we run into as sales professionals. I wanted to be able to have my people call me and be like, yep, definitely ran into that before. This is how I handled it. Right. So I just really wanted to kind of focus on sales. On the flip side of that, on the personal side, um, I had made like 72,000 in salary in my previous career. I didn't want to go backwards. So I really just wanted to see what I was capable of with focusing on sales. And guys, I tripled my income based off of my performance. So it was a good decision to switch careers there. And then fast forward to um, after 201, I had a similar conversation with Kevin. If you guys know Kevin, um, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I could be market director at the end of 20, at my third year. I said, at the end of 2026. He goes, I think you can do it by the end of 25. Um, and so, guys, we just kind of wrote down what that would look like. So as far as NAP and the metrics for market director, I knew that wasn't going to be an issue because of just I could hit those metrics by myself, but you can't hit your submits by yourself, and obviously you got to do recruiting. So it all just kind of started by happenstance. In Q3, I recruited a guy at a birthday party that like my wife's side of the family connection to, and he started with us. And then we went to Ireland, and my wife met some people like Shelby Meyer and some people that have assisted their husbands in their career. And essentially, we actually had a aha moment where like, hey, if I'm going to become, you know, if we're going to grow a team, why don't we do it together? Right. So I actually pulled my wife in to the career, got her out of a toxic work environment, which I'm pretty proud of. And now we're a team and we're team building together. And but she started just like everybody else doing the sales, and she qualified for the Q3 trip as well. She hit her first promotion in 6 weeks, so she came out ablazing. So, um, and then Q4, actually recruited a guy another birthday party. So you don't skip those kids' birthday parties. Good conversation places. He actually had interviewed with Kevin a year prior, and passed on it, and the timing wasn't right. But then after talking to me, we got him in. And then, guys, my last recruit for Q4 came down to the wire. She didn't pass her tests on the timeline that we thought it would happen. And I had to train her on the Saturday before the cutoff for Q4 to get her qualified. So just don't give up. Give it everything you got. Submit wise, I think Q3 I had 51 submits, and Q4 I had 52 or 53. So it's just kind of really just keeping an eye on those numbers and not letting things run away. And you can't go backwards on that stuff. So um, just keeping that. So that's kind of my story. With the rest of my time, I want to go through some things that have kind of led to like the accolades that Kyle kind of brought up. First one would be some non-negotiables I have. So we all know what a 2 out of 3 day is, and that is the bread and butter of our career. But if you want to level up, if you want to, make it to these trips, if you want to, get your name out there, change that to a 3 out of 3 day. Don't go home without a 3 out of 3 day. Or if you're in the team building, maybe a 4 out of 4 day. Um, Amanda Arndt, there's a little plug right there for you. Um, so I guess that would be my advice. If you're not where you want to be with your sales numbers, don't go home until it's a 3 out of 3 day. When I started the career, I didn't go home without a 2 out of 3 day, and some nights those were late. Now I can do it a lot faster. But um, this week, for example, with me going to annual awards, I Monday, with it being a shorter week, I worked till 8 p.m. and I wrote a green out in a day on Monday. So just kind of doing what it took to put the numbers up for the week. Then next non-negotiable is next door on the right. I know we've all heard that, but I've seen a lot of agents. I call it puddle jump. They get a referral, they jump over here, they jump over there, just kind of looking for the sale, which I found that that just doesn't work because you don't know who's behind what door and what that situation is, and just to the next door on the right is always the better strategy. The people that you got a referral to, those leads, they're not going anywhere. When you get to that door, they're going to be there. Just take good notes and act like you just got that referral yesterday or that connection yesterday. They don't know that you talked to their buddy Tom last week. That doesn't really matter. So just don't puddle jump, be efficient. I always ask for pre-approach. My goal every door when I leave is to never leave with nothing. Of course, you can pull leads and stuff, but that stuff can be outdated. Also, um, I've done a lot of business off the beaten path where those leads didn't pull into. You go past 4 blocks of a residential housing, and then you run into another 4 businesses. So just kind of having um, those that mindset that I'm not going to leave with nothing. What I found is that whether you run into cool people or not cool people, um, they're going to give you what you're asking for, because if they're cool, they're nice, they want to help you, and if they're not, they want to get rid of you. But if you ask for something for that to happen, you always win. So mirroring your territory, what that means is when you say you're catching up with everyone, you got to mean that. I work smaller territories. Prairie du Chien, where I live, that's the biggest town I work. Population is about 4,000, 5,000 people. And by saying I'm catching up with everyone, when you work in communities like mine, it builds trust because they know everybody. Everybody knows everybody, and it makes you legitimate. It makes you a professional, and it really builds momentum that way too. Um, then that just leads to referrals, connections. Always ask for referrals. Find different ways to ask for referrals. Um, whether that's niches, people in their phone, the beneficiaries they list on the application, their maybe their parents, their siblings. When you resurface and people see you again, ask for referrals again. Tell them how well it went the last time you got referrals from them and how they helped you get people protected. Just always ask for referrals, and just be efficient. Then the last thing for non-negotiable would be kind of just getting technical. Always, always try to refine your craft. Always try to level up. One thing I did recently is listen to some interviews, because as far as team building, me being my first quarter of market director, I haven't done a ton of interviews. So I just wanted to listen in and kind of hear how those went. So just being a student, we were students in sales academy. We worked hard. Sometimes that can get complacent. You forget to study after work. Don't. If you want to be, unless you're absolutely where you want to be and you've achieved everything you have or want to achieve, that's I haven't done that, so I'm still studying. So, as far as tools I use, obviously the elevators, podcasts, websites, the back to basics checklists, and just kind of what's exposed, along with when you do travel and you get a opportunity to talk to other agencies. You know, it's easy to talk to people in your agency, people you know, but branch out, meet people, and learn from others. I have learned a lot from people that are not in my agency. Um, and for the most part, everybody wants you to be successful, so they're willing to give you some. I mean, pay attention to whose names get talked about, and then introduce yourself to them, and just hear their story, pick their brain a little bit. I guarantee you pull something from it. Um, and then if something isn't working, to me, this was kind of my mindset in the beginning. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So do something different. And if you can't figure out what that is, lean on your leaders to help you do something different. And then role play that, study that. And then when it comes to the field, when it comes up again, give it a shot. I guarantee if you try something different, you'll have a different result. So, um, you know, eliminate distractions while you're at work. Our job has the flexibility of, yeah, you can run errands, but is that what other business owners would do? Probably not successful ones, right? So just when you're at work, but then have a non-negotiable cutoff time. Like, hey, I'm working from this time to this time. That's my family heritage time, and then the clock hits this time, and now it's not family heritage time. It's family time now. So just kind of set those boundaries, but don't let those lines get blurred too much. Um, so that's kind of my non-negotiables. The last thing is kind of just key ideas, something to yeah, something that might help you guys. So when you're working using relevant names, generally you want to use proximity names, but sometimes that doesn't make sense. Like if you're going into a factory, you might want to talk about other factories that you talk to. An example of like one thing I do is my communities are, there's a little bit of drive between them, but almost every single one has a butcher shop. I work with all of them, and I don't use the names from the town that I'm in for that butcher shop. I use the names of the other butcher shops I work with, even though they can be an hour from each other. They know who they are. So using relevant names, using power names when you learn what those are, pay attention to those stories. Like even if they're not your clients, go introduce yourself to them and ask them what they liked about it. Maybe hear their story. So when you're working a community, you can tell that story to other people. High five them, let them know they're in good hands, and then use that to help you. Never leave with nothing. Self assessment. If you are, so my week actually starts on Sunday. So like my plan for this week went exactly the way I planned it out. And it all started out on Sunday. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. I did that without messing that up, so that's good. So just don't wing it. If you're winging it, that could be the problem, right? Have a plan, stick to it, adjust that plan based off of how your day goes, and continue to plan throughout your week. Manage your schedule. I've seen a lot of agents be super flexible about the times that they can come back to catch up with people. Give them two options that work for you. I can come back at this time or this time. Which one works better? Your schedule, what we do matters. And I'm not saying what they do isn't important, but what we do is very important. And we can't be too flexible with our schedule, especially if that means like driving extra and stuff like that. Run your business like a business. Do a self assessment of the type of employee you are. Are you the type of employee that you would be the employee of the month? Or would you be the type of employee that if there was someone over you, that your hours would get cut? Would you promote yourself, or would you write yourself up for your habits? So do a self assessment and just run a business like a business. You're your own boss. Don't just like know that, own that, and do something with it. Manage yourself, and that's going to help you lead too. Um, invest in your business. If you're not where you want to be, shadow. Shadow days are awesome. I know a lot of people are like, well, that's one day less in the field. The times I've shadowed, my business has boomed after I've shadowed. And so it's just worth it. Again, definition of insanity, do something different, stay hungry, stay a student, and invest. In a nutshell, guys, one thing that I always try to do, if you hear my demo, the script is in there, but I'm a person before a salesperson. A lot of people that hear my demo says I hear it, but it doesn't sound like the script. It sounds like a conversation, and that's my goal. I ask a ton of questions, more questions than what are in the script. Almost everything I say is a question because that makes it a conversation. If I'm asking a question, they have to respond. It draws their attention back into it. Um, and it really just keeps them engaged. But it also sounds like it just sounds like I'm authentic and really care what they have to say by asking questions versus just them hearing me talk. Which if they're talking, they're buying. If I'm talking, I'm selling, and I rather um, the second one. So don't assume. Don't assume. I mean, I've had people that were well off say they can't afford it, and people that are struggling by it. It's not my job to decide if you can afford it. My job is to explain how it works, show, find the need, fill it, and make it make sense for them. Now it's your decision to decide if it's a good fit. So I guess one thing that a lot of people have said is I treat everyone like they're an ace until they show me or tell me that they're not an ace. I give everyone the opportunity until they don't give me the opportunity. Um, I just kind of expect everyone to sign up because everyone needs it. Um, you know, heard on a elevators podcast. I think it was Getting Technical or something like that. Um, Dylan Buck say, like for the most part, we're doing this. We're better off than a lot of people in that we talk to, but we still need the product too because we don't want to waste our savings and things we've earned on something major medical, right? So and just learn how to talk to those people, um, and use the names. Learn how to like yeah, you could use your savings. Um, but most people I talk to prefer to use that on something else, conversations like that. Um, Set up enrollments. I go into every business expecting to sign up the owner or the manager and then set up an enrollment. That's just kind of my mindset. I've learned how to pivot when they don't sign up to build a need for others and gotten a lot of that time. And then circle back to that person at the end of the enrollment, sign them up after everyone else does because people don't want to be left out. And then the last thing, key idea is just I have like a buying atmosphere throughout my entire demo, not just during that part. Um, Someone says, they got this, that, and the other thing. Like they're good. I'd be like, yeah, this could be for you. It could not. That's kind of a buying atmosphere, and I'm just going to keep going into the next part of my demo because I'm not going to let little things like that um, stop me. And then, like yesterday, I had a guy tell me, yeah, I might not make a decision today, but I definitely don't know a lot about this, so I want to hear more. Um, maybe I do want to learn more about this. Um, and I'll kind of like get back to you. I was like, hey, totally get that. But then, we always ask for a favor. And then I say, does that sound fair? And then I said to him, I hear what you're saying. I guess, why do you think I asked for that favor? He's like, well, I guess, you know, probably so I don't kick the can down the road, you know. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's definitely part of it. I said, the truth is people don't wake up and think about this stuff, They typically think about it twice. Once is when I'm here with my iPad talking about it. When do you think the second time is? He said, when something happens. I said, yeah. So I guess the toughest part about what I do is just kind of catching people before something happens because there's not much I can do afterwards. So that's why today, if it's making a lot of sense, it's kind of like a no brainer for you. I'll get you taken care of. But if you're like in the no or the maybe, or like the maybe, or I'll think about it category, I'm going to go ahead and put you in the no category because I would never want to have a relationship with you where I'm like, hey, have you thought about it? Have you thought about it some more? I just don't work that way. So, would you say that that sounds reasonable? And he's like, yeah, it does. Right. So just, it's the same buying atmosphere. It's just rephrased and just staying in control of the situation, but letting them know that it's okay to tell me no. And it's okay to obviously sign up. What's not okay is a maybe because I just don't work that way. So I could keep going, guys, but I think that's about my time. I want to save a little bit for questions.
Grant, you're a freaking stud, man. So textbook, so disciplined by the book. I can see why you're just an ultra top performer here. Quick, just technical question. So you sit down with the owner, the manager. Your goal is obviously in order to set up enrollment, your goal is to get them protected first, right? The owner, the manager. Can you explain just that little conversation from you just demoed the manager, whether they buy or don't buy, pivoting to the employees, that little conversation piece on how to effectively pivot to working with the employees after that demo.
Yeah. So either right there or at some point during the conversation, I want to like find out what kind of benefits their employees already have. A lot of the ones,
Mhm.
a lot of business owners want to offer benefits, they just can't afford them. Um, and so I'm like, I have a conversation about that. Like, do you guys offer benefits? No, we want to, but it's just too expensive. Yeah, totally get that. That's what Frank said. That's what John said. So what I had a conversation with them about was, there's definitely a need for what we do because it's not really a matter of like if something's going to happen, but more like when. And working with like local businesses like John and Frank's, um, you know, what I've noticed is that, when you have good employees, you want to keep them. And benefits can be a factor of that. And sometimes they become like family, and you really want them to be in a good spot if something were to happen. So what I talked to John and Frank about was offering this option to
Mm.
them. What people really like about it is there's no like waiting period. Most benefits you got to wait 90 days. Our coverage begins right away, right? Also, it's totally tailor made and customized to their situation. Some people are going to tell me they have a lot of cancer in their family. Some people tell me they have kids that are in sports and they're accident prone. You wouldn't believe how many businesses I've walked into and they're like, "Where were you 2 months ago? So and so just got in an accident, or so and so just got diagnosed." Right. So, what's great about what we do, Kyle, is we not only make it to people's situation and find options that fit in their budget. We we only put a backup plan in place if it makes sense for them. So not here to twist their arm on it. Just give them an option. So if something really bad did happen, they do have a backup plan if it makes sense.
Love that.
Then I kind of
Game
turn it over
changer.
to that. Yeah,
Hey,
and at this point they've already seen the demo, and I say at that point I kind of flip it on them and I say, why do you think it makes sense for them to take a look at this?
mm, Yeah.
And
I just want to
that's
make sure
kind
my
of
employees are taken care of.
yep, and that's kind of the same thing as solidifying the sale question. Like, granted that you've seen this stuff happen firsthand and knowing that you don't have a backup plan in place, why would it make sense for you to get this today? It's a similar question, but it's more for the employees.
Love that. That is awesome. Thank you so much, Grant. This is some great material. I have so many notes myself from this from our conversation today. I got so many good teaching nuggets. I'm going to kind of recap some of those notes. And for those of you going to Vegas, you will see Grant in person here in the next day or so. He's actually getting a day early because he's one of the chairman's club. So one of the benefits of being a top performer. So Grant, will earn, man. I can't wait to see you here soon, buddy. Fly safe,
Mhm.
and I'll make sure that one of our agents gets you a drink in Vegas. So let's go. And guys, with that, I'm going to do a quick recap, and then we'll wrap up today's call. So this is just a couple points I want to make sure everybody understands. So Grant, you only get your first year once, right? So that was something